So my name is Nicole Ryan, and I suppose my brother was Alex Ryan. Last year he took a synthetic drug at a house party in Cork in the Greenmount area, and 4 days later he passed away in CUH. The first time somebody ever said to me something that wasn't great was, "You're only getting famous off the back of your brother's death." And that hurt. And that hurt a lot. And it wasn't a hurt that just happened, it was a progressive one. I remember I was shocked, I walked away. And then the next day I was like, whatever, what's said is said, I'll leave it go. But I was driving home on the Monday from work and I just started crying in my car. And I didn't know why, but it was actually someone that had said something to me 2 days prior that it really got deep into me. And I started to doubt myself. I'm a marine engineer by trade. And I went to college in National Maritime College, and I went to college with all boys. And it was hard because I always had to prove myself, because it's a male-dominant area. So then I started working for Irish Ferries, and I was working at sea, and I was loving life. Everything was great. And with one phone call, my whole life changed, and nothing was ever going to be the same again. So I saw him, and I saw him lying there, and it looked like he was asleep. So what happened to him was he took a drug that he thought was a synthetic drug. It was a synthetic drug. And he thought he was taking something that was safe because he thought synthetic drugs were safe. And that's kind of the misconception with a lot of young people. Because they're synthetic and they're fake, they mustn't have deadly consequences. So him and his friends thought they were taking 2CP. And in fact, they took a lethal hallucinogenic called the N-bomb. And my brother was pronounced brain dead on the Friday. And we had a decision to make, and we made him an organ donor. So as I speak here to you today, there's 4 pieces of Alex out there keeping people alive. His heart still beats. So after that, I fell into a very bad place myself. So I thought I had to do something. So what I did was I started my own campaign and my own adventure, and it's called Alex's Adventure of a Lifetime. So what I do is I go to schools all over Ireland and I visit them voluntarily. I don't get paid for this. I take time off work and I share his story. I educate young people about drugs and, what drug use is, and synthetic drugs especially. It helps me keep him alive in a way that, people can identify with him. They can see that this is real and this can happen to anybody. I always say Alex is anybody's child because he could be any one of you and it could happen so easily. I used to never think that it would happen to me, and you read about these stories and you think, geez, that's very sad, but it doesn't really affect me. But when it does come knocking at your door, your whole life changes. And essentially what I do is I want to prevent other families having to go through what we go through every day. Every day, we carry on with life, but you wake up a little bit sadder and you go to bed just the same. Everything is just going through the motions. And, he was 18 years of age and he had his whole life ahead of him. Every time he'd say, "Oh, one day I'm going to be famous." And it's sad to see that he is famous, but he's not here to see it. And it was all done with one choice that he made. I always say that my brother made the choice himself, which he did. He had nobody to blame but himself, but he was uneducated. Especially with synthetic drugs, toxicity levels and dosages are very different compared to your illicits. What you think you're taking is a normal dose could end up being double or triple or even 10 times the dosage if you're taking synthetic drugs. And it's very dangerous for people to start taking them. And we think that because they are synthetic drugs, they're safer, but they're not. They have the exact same consequences as the big top dogs, your illicit drugs like cocaine and all that. He wanted to play rugby for Ireland. And because he was 6'7", he was huge, he was going to do it. Growing up with him was an adventure on its own as well, He loved playing dress up because he was my younger brother, and I loved dressing him up because I wanted a sister and not a brother. He did things out of the kindness of his own heart because he knew it was right and not because he wanted to be known or he wanted any praise or anything like that. He just did them because they were the right thing to do. To have to make the decision of whether to keep him like that for the rest of his life at 18 years of age, a vegetable basically in a bed. And, it was a decision that we made that was very difficult, but we had to do it. But another thing that comes out of it that gives us a bit of hope is his organ donation. And it is something that I would urge every single one of you to go home and talk about to your parents, because you never know when your last day may be. You're all in school at the moment, but you'll all be faced with this choice if you haven't been faced already. Drugs are everywhere, and they're not just in the big cities. They're in the small towns, in the small areas, in colleges, in nightclubs, in bars. You don't even have to go looking. People will come to you and offer things to you. Sometimes I wonder, if I'm doing something that's worth it, if it's right, how many people am I reaching? Is anybody listening? But the response that I've gotten over the last year that I have visited all these schools is phenomenal. If you're educated enough, hopefully you can make the right decision and the right choice, because I believe it all starts with education. And us young people, we're not stupid. We're well capable of making good decisions, but sometimes, be it your friends are doing it, or we're at a club or whatever, it's very easy to get swayed to doing something like that. So, I got a message actually off one of the lads. I went to school before I finished up last summer. I'm in 5th year in the De La Salle. Your talk was very inspirational. It was amazing. It must be very hard talking about. You definitely did Alex proud, and he's smiling at you. I've become an organ donor after the talk because you highlighted the importance of it. I found the part about the amount of drugs very interesting, and I would never personally have touched drugs, but now when I go to college, I never will. As you said, you never know what you're getting, and you can't take the risk. Drugs of any kind, illegal or synthetic, and I have you to thank for. You and Alex are saving so many lives. So I guess at the end of the day, getting famous off the back of my brother's death isn't such a bad thing if it's changing minds and it's saving lives. Thank you, guys.